So everything's made for the burrito and for the main course.
Right.
And so now I can ask you questions about, your business and how you got started while we wait for the meal
Sure.
to cook. And so what made you get into cooking?
I have always loved to cook. It's a labor of love for me. I've cooked since I was very young.
Okay.
I used to bake a lot. That's what was of interest to me, is baking. And then I just started falling in love with the smells and the flavors in the kitchen. My grandmother used to make her own schmaltz, which is chicken fat.
Yes.
And I'm probably the only person my age that has it in the refrigerator. But I keep it in the refrigerator and the freezer. It's one of my staples. It has wonderful flavors, and it also has wonderful aromas, and that's what I love.
Right.
And it brings family together. I mean, food does. And for years, I've been trying to figure out how to do this for other people.
Right.
What I didn't know until I really got online and looked is that there's a whole industry of personal chefs
Yes.
and private chefs. I'm a personal chef, so I actually went to personal chef school. It's really a course that I took, the American Personal and Private Chef Association.
Mhm.
And I studied under Candy Wallace, who is the executive director and quite a chef in her own right, and became certified. So then I understood the business of doing business, basically.
Yes.
I understood what was involved, how to do it, that there was a way that personal chefs could service people, and fell in love with doing it and started my business.
So when did you start your business?
I started my business in March of 2014.
Okay.
I started culinary school about the same time. I decided that was sort of in my bucket list. I always
Right.
wanted to do that. I was a home economics major when I was in college, but in those days you wore white uniforms. You looked like a nurse. You were either a
Exactly.
nurse or a chef, one or the other. And this was something I really wanted to do. So I started that. I enrolled in Escoffier Culinary Academy, and it took me about 2 years to complete, and I graduated last year. And I enjoyed learning the art of cooking as well. So that's how I got into it.
This is amazing. Wow. I love what you prepared. It didn't take very long to do.
No.
And outside of the shopping, it took what, maybe 30 minutes to prep everything
Right.
and get it into the oven and then prep for making the burritos also. And this will cover 2 meals. So while we're standing here talking, someone in their home would be, again, helping their children with their homework,
Right.
maybe taking a shower, relaxing, getting themselves ready for work the next day.
That's
Or
correct.
doing whatever they do after they get off from work that doesn't,
Yes.
isn't a part of their cooking. So
Right.
this is very, very simple.
It's very simple, and it's tailored. We tailored it to you.
Yes.
So you're lactose intolerant. All of my clients have some dietary specification. In fact, I fell into a niche as soon as I started my business.
Yeah, tell us about that, because you have a special niche, and that's the reason we asked you to come on, because you have such a special niche. And so talk about how you fell into that and how that came about.
I became licensed and insured and did all the things I was supposed to do. And I was contacted by a nutritionist down in the South Bay who had a client who was very sick. He had huge reactions to certain foods, ingredients, I would have to say. And she found me on Google, so I had not, in fact, I never have ever advertised. And she found me on Google, and she called me and said, I have this client, he's young, he can't eat foods, he gets sick, he's going onto an elimination diet. So what that meant is he was able to start with 25 ingredients, including salt and pepper.
Oh, wow.
I think the only spice that I could use was paprika, and then eventually oregano. And it was brand new to me, and I was making a lot of food, and we had to add new foods every week. So I learned a lot during that time in how to work with a client and how to make sure that he's eating the proper foods that don't make him sick. From there, I started getting phone calls from nutritionists, and they would, again, I think it's a Google search. I don't know how else they would have found me.
Right.
And I have had patients that have had bypass surgery, heart attacks, I've had patients that are stem cell transplants. And that's a different ballgame altogether, because very few people can be in contact with that person who is dealing with stem cell treatment. And I was able to go into the house and cook for the family. So that was nice. I have lactose and gluten-free clients. We call it gluten-free lactose intolerant Wednesday. That's really my clients on Wednesday. And we have to be very careful, but they hire me because they know that this is something that I can do, and that I will be very careful with the foods that they can have.
Right.
Some people are more difficult than others, because people are not necessarily diagnosed celiac.
Right.
But things bother them when they eat gluten. It makes them feel bad. It makes them feel sick. So a lot of times they can have some things and they can't have other things. Even
Right.
when you're lactose intolerant, there are some cheeses. Some people can have an aged cheddar.
Right, and we talked about that, and I said I have not experimented
Yes.
past realizing I was lactose intolerant. I just stay away from cheese altogether. I'll
Right.
eat like the vegan cheese. There are certain brands of that I completely enjoy, but just cheese for cheese purposes, I've learned how to do without it.
Yeah.
Until I found the vegan cheese, I would eat my pizza without cheese on it. I'd use all vegetables, a little bit of meat, and just the bread and sauce, because I
Right.
just would not go anywhere near.
And even like with the vegan cheese, when I started using vegan cheese for one of my clients, her nutritionist said she can't have this. It has canola oil, and a lot of nutritionists are not real big proponents of canola oil.
Right.
So we lost that opportunity to have a little bit of cheese, because it's tough. You're making eggplant parmesan, and you're making
Right.
things that you just want to give it that little bit of cheese. But there are things that you can do that taste like cheese sometimes. Nutritional yeast, I can sprinkle a little nutritional yeast in there.
Right.
There are other ways to get salt into foods. There's just ways of doing it, and that's what I've really studied and learned. So all of my clients basically love to eat. They're foodies. They like good food. They have to be careful because of their health
Right.
or how it reacts in their body. And it's my job to make it tasty and, pretty much cater to what their dietary specifications are.
So, how much food do you prepare per week? Because now we're just in your kitchen, and this is more personal, but you normally cook in a commercial kitchen for your clients.
That's correct.
So, how much food do you have to prepare a week now?
I cook fresh every week.
Right.
Most personal chefs don't. They'll cook fresh one week and enough food to freeze for the following week. I only cook fresh, and all of my clients are weekly. So we usually keep it to two clients a day. And in, I would say, about a 5 to 6 hour period, we will cook anywhere between 12 and 20 different items.
That's amazing.
We make somewhere between 4 and 5 entrees, depending upon what the client wants, a week, and we make sides that go with it. So they're getting, everything's packaged in a microwavable, freezer and refrigerator-proof, oven-proof container. They're new containers that I use. I love them. So they can go directly into an oven. They can go
Right.
directly into a microwave. Even though there's an aluminum piece, component to it, it still can go into your microwave. It makes it very easy for them. Some people, I have it packaged so they can just take the meal and it's got a vegetable and a starch and a protein. Others prefer it's family style, so they can mix and match and do what they want.
Right.
And that works really well for a lot of clients as well. But we cook a lot of food, and if they're all on the same page, what I do is I submit menus to my clients. So every week they get menus from me, selections, I should say. And from that, they'll say, I want this, and this.
Right.
And then I'll want these sides. I try to see if any of my other clients want the same thing, because that just makes it a little easier in the kitchen and we can get through foods faster. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So when it works, it's great. When it doesn't work, we're making about 20 different things a
Wow.
day.
Now, across the board, what would you say is one of the things that most people want as a part of their meal?
Well, most people like savory food.
Yes.
They do, even though they're not supposed to eat it, or if they want to lose weight. It's my job to lean it down.
Right.
And I do. I take it down. They love chicken enchiladas. People are always wanting chicken enchiladas. But
Again.
I do take it down.
Yes.
I take it down as much as I can. I mean, you're never going to pull all the calories out, but you can certainly use, a salt-free broth. You can use, the corn tortillas are not really that much to it. The meat is chicken breast.
Right.
But I use a broth. I don't make a cream sauce. And we
Yes.
use low-fat cheese for those clients. So that they get the foods that they want, they just get them leaned down or made healthy.
Right, which is the control, and we talked about this earlier before we got on camera. That's the control you need when you do have food allergies, or if you're trying to lose weight, or if you want to just start preparing healthy meals for your family. You want to have some semblance of control. So today we're preparing the meal, but there are some families who just don't have the time to cook.
That's right.
And they don't need to feel guilty about that, because there's a support system out there for people who just don't have the time to cook, or who don't specialize in the things that some family members may need to eat.
Right.
So they would need to look for someone like you to help them with that, because it can be daunting and overwhelming.
Yes, it is.
So many women
is.
and men who have families, they're almost guilted into thinking and feeling bad because they don't have the time to prepare a meal.
Right.
This is great if you have the time to do it, but if you don't have the time to do it, then look for someone like Chef Beth, who can help you create healthy menus for your family.
Right.
And you can move on with your day, your week, and do some of the things that maybe you need to focus on. And like you said, sitting around the dinner table, having a meal is a lot more important than just preparing it.
Absolutely.
You want to have that family time if it's at all possible.
I did have a client once, that was the whole purpose behind having me come, is so that they both, husband and wife, had very busy lives, and they wanted the family table.
Right.
They wanted to recreate that and not have to spend the time and the frustration in the kitchen, but just to be able to pull the meals out knowing they're made with healthy foods. They're made to their dietary specifications. They're very easy to heat up. Nothing takes more than about 20 minutes in the oven, 25 minutes max, because everything is cooked in the kitchen. And then they just basically heat it up.
Yes. And what I'd suggest too for someone like me, and that I know there are other people out there like me, get, like, at the beginning when you started the meal, you put a timer.
Right.
And that's something that I find that is imperative.
And you stop eating at the end of the...
Well, I put the timer on because to prepare the meal, you can get distracted.
Right. Oh,
and
right.
Get, completely distracted with something else you're doing and completely forget about the meal.
Right.
More meals have been burned because people completely forget that they are preparing a meal and they're off doing something else in their house. So I just wanted to add that in because I saw your timer and I'm like, I remember I had a friend call me just recently and she prepared this wonderful meal, stepped away, completely forgot, and burned it.
Right.
So as not to burn your meal, make sure you also have a timer.
Timers
Yes.
are imperative in our kitchen. We have timers that actually have four different areas, so we can time 4 foods in each timer.
Okay.
And it's in our heads like which one is which.
Okay.
But if you don't time, you have no idea.
You have no idea. And the other thing, like food portions, I think when you eat at home, you have more control over your food portions versus eating out.
Absolutely.
And then you have these large portions unless, you're eating somewhere that doesn't do that. But most places give you more food than one should consume in one meal.
Right.
So what do you feel about meal portions? Do you proportion the food out into...
Yeah, I do. I do it the way they want it.
Okay.
Some people are quantity eaters. They want a lot of food.
Right.
So they get a lot of food. Others do not. Others eat like little birds and they don't want a lot of food at all.
Exactly.
So when I prepare these things, I prepare it for them. And that's something I find out. I do a full assessment of every client that I have. I have about 11 pages of questions. They talk about likes, dislikes, portion size. Do you want bone-in chicken? Do you want skin-on chicken? How do you like your meats made and temperature-wise? Things like that. And it gives me a whole idea of what that person wants and how they want to eat, so I know how to package.
Right.
Do they want a family style? Do they want to be able to just grab and go?
Right.
So things like that, I spend a lot of time with my clients, and it's a kind of a forever process too, because things change as they go and they get used to having somebody cooking for them. But when they're used to having somebody cooking for them, they don't shop. So,
Right.
they're very dependent on having me in their kitchen.
That's amazing. I myself, to have someone to come in and cook for us today was exciting for me. To be able to come into your kitchen and see how you do everything, and to bring my little team in to see how you prepare the food, and then to actually be able to partake in the meal that was prepared by you. And I noticed when we spoke on the phone, you wanted to make sure that the meal you prepared today was one that, since I am lactose intolerant,
Right.
first question you ask is, who has food allergies, who has sensitivities, and that'll help us determine what kind of meal to make. So having you as a chef in someone's life is amazing. And I'd like you to give us some contact information while we're talking, so that if someone would like to have a conversation with you about becoming one of your clients, how would they contact you?
I have a website. It's www.savoryeatsbybeth. And I have a Facebook page.
Okay.
And I post a lot of recipes on my Facebook page. I post things that I learn or that I experiment with or what I play with. A lot of dinner parties. I do catering as well, but I don't do large catering. I do catering on the small end, and up to about 20 people, and private dinner parties and things like that, or date nights. I do a lot of date nights.
Oh, that's nice.
It's very fun, yeah. And I did a surprise date night once, and that was very, very cool. She had just had a baby, and they let me in the house, and I set everything up, and we got candles lit and the whole bit. So when she came home, she just had this wonderful dinner and tablescape, and
Nice.
it was fun.
Yeah,
That's
so-
always fun.
And a lot of times men and women are looking for ideas of how to, treat their wife or husband, and, maybe prepare a surprise meal or something.
Right.
So is that something you would help them with?
Absolutely, and I love doing that. That's really a lot of fun. This is more production stuff that we do,
Right.
even though everything's fresh, organic, however people want.
Something just was
Well,
done.
Check and see what's going on.
Something's done.
So we'll take this out, and what we'll do is test it to see what its temperature is, and this is why it's so important.
Wow, that looks absolutely wonderful.
So this is done.
Look
This
how
is
quickly.
this is a. Let's see if I can. You can kind of tell, but we're at about 153. So this is
Right.
going to be the temperature that you would like it to be, and we're going to let it sit
Okay.
just a little bit.
So the beef has to rest a little.
Beef has to rest a little bit. And then I'm going to put this asparagus in and put the temperature up just a little bit more.
Okay.
Now the berries are doing good. I'm just going to take this up a notch.
So the meat you cooked on.
The meat I cooked at 350. And
At
we
350?
actually cooked this meat for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
And it's done. Now, if you did it on a grill, or if you would have seared it first, that would have been fine as well. And you would have maybe more of a crust. But
That looks perfect.
This is what it looks like. And
Absolutely perfect.
yeah.
Did we
it's-
get a good picture of this? Because this looks absolutely perfect. My
I don't know if
tri-tip
you can
doesn't
see it.
look like that. It's perfect.
It smells good.
Amazing.
All right, so I'm going to reset the timer now because I need to keep track of what's going on with the stuff that's in there.